very welcome along to another edition of the Staff Room. The Staff Room aims to be a half-an-hour program for educators, by educators and teachers. We want to hear from you. In today's Staff Room, it's a lonely Staff Room. There's only myself and Chris, and we're going to be running through some demos. Chris, how are you doing?
Very good. How are you, Has?
Not too bad. So the first thing we're going to do for today, in today's demo, we're going to keep today's program short and to the point. So I'm going to cover Google Share and how to share a Google document. And I'm going to do that with Chris's help, if he doesn't mind.
I don't mind.
And the idea is I'm going to share my desktop. And within my shared desktop, I'm going to create a folder. And I'm going to share that folder with Chris. And within that folder, I'm going to create a document. And that document, Chris will be able to edit at the same time as I'm editing it. Now, this isn't for the Google experts out there by any means, but if you're struggling with G Suite or Google in general or sharing documents or collaboration, I think this is going to help you. So I'm going to jump straight in. I'm going to share my desktop now. So I'm going to share my screen, and within my shared screen, I'm now in Google Drive. Google Drive, to create a folder, I simply click New Folder, and I'm going to call this one Staff Room Episode 4, because you can call it whatever you want. You can call it Field Trip, you can call it Walk in the Park, it doesn't matter. And then I'm going to create that folder. So now my Google Drive has a folder within it called Staff Room Episode 4. I want to share that folder with Chris. So I clicked on Share with Others, and I'm going to put in Chris's email address. And Chris's email address is makermeetie@gmail.com. I can add a note here by simply going, this folder is for schoolwork. And in this scenario, I'm the teacher, Chris is the student. So now I'm sharing a folder with my student, and I'm telling my student that this folder that exists within the Google Drive is simply for your schoolwork. Nothing else, just schoolwork. And then I click Send.
In my Google Drive, there is a Shared with Me section on the left-hand side. And on the left-hand side, there is now a folder there that says Staff Room Episode 4 or EP4. So yeah, that is shared.
So now that it's shared, I want to go into that folder. So I just double click on that folder. I'm in that folder here, and I want to create a Google document within that folder. So I'm going to go to New, I'm going to go to Google Document, and I'm going to go Create and Share. Now, before I do, it says here, the created item will have the same sharing permissions as the selected folder. That means anything within this folder that I create will be shared with Chris. I've created my document. This is the document as it stands, and I'm going to call this Walk in the Woods. Now, in this document, I'm going to tell a story about a walk in the woods. Now, Chris, can I ask you to add something to that document?
So I have your Walk in the Woods document open now.
Perfect. And will you add a couple of lines to that, Chris?
Sure.
So what you can see is you can see Chris typing in on his side. Now just a summary, let's just think about what's happening here. So I'm in one part of the country. I've shared a folder with Chris. In that folder, I've shared a document called A Walk in the Woods. And in that document, I've started the first line, which is tell me a story about a walk in the woods. Chris sees that document on his side, and Chris is now adding in bits and pieces to his document. Now, this document, this one document, can be shared with as many students as you like. However, I would recommend that keeping the numbers low, because when you have a few people typing at the same time, it might there might be a bit of confusion. It's also worth remembering that by sharing the one document with 4 different students, it's a collaborative piece of work. So the students have to communicate between themselves to say, okay, I'm going to write the first part, I'm going to write the second part, I'm going to write the third part. You do not want to give the same document to 27 different students to type up their own walk in the woods. For that, you would go back to your Google Drive folder, and in here you would put Walk in the Woods for Hassan and share that with Hassan. You'd put Walk in the Woods for Chris and share that with Chris, and Walk in the Woods with whoever, and each of your students. Now each of your students will get that one document. Now the reason I'm saying this, and the reason I'm going through all this, is simply as a collaborative tool, Google is amazing. And if for a project with the weather the way it is at the moment, I hope the weather is nice where you are. It's beautiful here. With the weather the way it is, wouldn't it be nice to be able to offer that as a project to students? Right, digital storytelling. This is part of your digital storytelling. This is part of your literacy. I want you to go out for a walk, not necessarily in the woods, but it can be within your 2-kilometer radius. So those steps again: create a folder called your classroom. In our case, it's called Staffroom 3. Share that folder with all of your students. Within that folder, you can create documents, and each of the students that has received this folder will automatically see those documents.
And I think in fairness, it's worth mentioning that, yes, it does work. And if you want to even see how it works or understand how it works, really the only thing to understand is that it's a shared document. And as Has said, really my advice as well would be, in a shared document, for a collaborative project, the main thing to remember, you'll know your class, you'll know who you invite to work on the document. It might be a better idea to split your class, if you have a class of 30, to split them into 6 groups of 5 or something slightly more manageable. But everybody who is invited to that document will have editing rights. So that does mean if you had 30 students editing one document, the difficulty there is that some of the students will start to type over each other depending on given times. But the other thing is also that students can, inadvertently, shall we say, put in content that is not suitable for that particular document or things like that. But the good news for you is that all the edits are kept, and you can see who edited what and who typed what and at what time. So therefore, if someone does put in something particularly inappropriate, you can bring that student to task.
Brilliant. So, Chris, you have a demonstration for us today as well?
I do. So I am going to demonstrate for you. It's just a kind of screen sharing. We touched on this before, and I thought it would be worth just showing it and how easy it is. So with your permission, Has, I'm going to present my screen.
Perfect.
So, and the software I'm going to use is called Lonely Screen. And the URL is lonelyscreen.com. So this is a free piece of software. They would like you to purchase it, but you don't need to. Really, what I believe the most that will happen is you might need to purchase it just to remove the annoying prompt to pay for it and things like that. But if you're happy enough to close that prompt every time you run the software, then you don't need to worry about it. So in terms of that, you go to Lonely Screen. There is, as you can see, you can cast or AirPlay to either a PC or a Mac, so it's cross-platform. There is a big download tab at the top. Let me click on that. And as you can see, you can subscribe for $15 a year, which is quite cheap if you wanted to pay for it. And you can download from Mac. It recognizes in this instance that I am on a Mac, so it'll download from Mac. If you were on a PC, it would recognize that you were on a PC and would say download for PC. So you should see my screen there now. And
yep.
Excellent. So here is the application. So I'm looking at I have two different screens, so I'll be looking away from the camera as I'm doing this. So here is the application. This is what it looks like. It's very straightforward. I will make it a bit larger so that you can see it. With still my desktop in the background. So this is all it is. So what this does is this essentially turns your machine into something that can receive a signal from your mobile device. So fortunately, I have here my iPad. On my iPad, I'm going to go to my mirroring options. And as you can see on the screen, what has just popped up here is my iPad.
Cool.
I tap away from that, and that is my iPad there. And just to show you, it is a live image. We'll jump over to the next window of things. I have 9 mails waiting for me in Gmail, various other things I'm working on. I can go into any kind of things. So I can go into audio, for instance. I could look at Spotify music. I can do pretty much anything I want. And that is mirrored on the screen of my computer. So,
and Chris, from a classroom point of view, when exactly, like, what's the 1, 2, 3 for a teacher using this in a classroom? Like, what exactly happens?
Sure. So exactly what you just saw there, by way of what happens is I run the software as a teacher. I run the software on my computer. My computer is plugged into my whiteboard or my projector, which is projecting the image from my computer screen.
Yeah.
So at that point, that allows me to extremely easily project the image from my tablet, my iPad, or whatever I'm using, to the projector screen for all of the students to see. So essentially what you're doing is you're making the image much, much larger. And I can fully present that there.
So really all the teacher needs they walk into they're in their classroom, they turn on their PC. As long as their PC with the software running can project onto the screen, then this will work. So then they can walk in with their iPad or device.
Correct.
And they can broadcast from the device. Can you broadcast from your phone as well?
You can, and in fact, it's a good I suppose, test just to show you. So I will try to do the same thing from my phone, and I think what's going to happen is you can now see my iPad there, but
yeah.
I now do that, and what's happened is that's now my phone.
Okay.
But clearly, I didn't stop broadcasting from my iPad.
Yeah.
So that's just, I suppose, another little clue for teachers is if you're in a classroom and you have iPads in your classroom and you're using one yourself, you can broadcast what you're doing up on the screen. And we're getting lots of flicker there because it's trying to do everything. So it is, and this will happen in the classroom, which is your students will also, if they have iPads, will also try and kick you off the mirroring because there is no password, there's no anything on it. It's a very simple piece and very easy to use piece of software, but that also means it does lack a few features such as password protection and that sort of thing. So therefore what happens is your students, you may run into a situation where your students, if they have an iPad, will sneakily try and kick you off as well too.
Well, I'm thinking from a primary school situation, just we have content done on the iPad or we have content created on the iPad. I want to share it with the class. on the projector, but I don't want to connect my iPad directly into the projector. I mean, let's face facts. This could all be done by unplugging one cable and plugging it into the back of your iPad, but
Absolutely, yeah.
you really don't want to be doing that.
No, and part of the reason you don't want to do that is you're not misusing, but you're not using the functionality of the device in your hand, which is a mobile device. That's the whole point of it. It's a mobile device. It's a device you should be able to walk around your classroom with and help students who are also perhaps doing things on their own device. You don't want to be tethered to the whiteboard.
So, I mean, from, again, sticking with the digital storytelling, this is when all of this lifts. You can very easily give your student a device. They bring it on the walk in the woods, or they'll go a trip down to the park, and they take their pictures and they take their little videos and they put the whole lot together. They write a bit of a script in their Google Doc or whatever the option is there for them. Bring it back, and they can present to the entire class from their device without having to plug a cable in.
Correct, yeah, and that's one of the huge advantages of it as well, too, is that collaborative environment. As well as that, it allows some students who may previously not have been comfortable about coming up to the board to do something and turn around and stand in front of all of their peers within a classroom. It allows them the comfort of staying in their seat and presenting from their seat. And that's a nice thing. And it also allows other people to comment on what they're doing as well. So that's also a very good collaborative effort within, as you say, a primary environment.
From all the schools I've been into, the one question I get asked all the time, and I'd say you do as well, is how do I project from my device up onto my screen? Now, without mentioning brands, because every brand has their solution. I'm a Mac convert. You're gone to the dark side. There are others out there that would use Android devices and would use Windows devices. They're not forgotten about. They have their own solutions as well. It's just this solution here works across the board. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, yeah. And there are, as you say, for if you're a school that happens to have Android tablets of some type, often many of the newer whiteboards have that functionality built in, because the whiteboard itself runs an Android operating system. So you don't actually need any third-party software. If you have an older whiteboard that doesn't have an operating system, that is, let's call it a non-smart board, then you need to project the image from your laptop or desktop PC. And there are pieces of software out there that allow you to do that as well. And we actually have those up on the Padlet as well. We have those up on our Staffroom Padlet. So teachers can get the links to those there. And we could do another video as well using an Android device to the same idea.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. I think if we can get the other video done as soon as possible, that'd be brilliant. Thanks very much, Chris, for that. I know, like I mentioned, there's an awful lot of schools are constantly asking me, how do I broadcast from my device up onto my board? What tool do I need? What piece of equipment do I need? I think that app is going to solve an awful lot of problems for an awful lot of people. So definitely go download. The fact that it's free is amazing. Chris, do you know off the top of your head, and this is putting you on the spot, what's the difference between the paid tier and the free tier? Do you know?
As far as I could figure out, and I did a little bit of looking into it, it doesn't appear that there is any difference at all, which is maybe not wise for the maker of the app, but good for us, the consumer of the app. The only difference that I could find is that it allows you, it takes away the annoying startup message when you first start up to say, this is a free app, or do you like this app? If you like it, please pay for it. That's the only difference. The quality isn't better. The screen recording is no different that I could find in any way at all. It's actually just that. That's all.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thanks very much, Chris. As always, don't forget, if you have anything you'd like us to cover in the staff room, please let us know at CESI Tweets. You can contact us here on the CESI website. we've embedded the video into the CESI website. We're available on YouTube. And indeed, go on to Twitter at CESI Tweets, at Chris Reina, at Hassan Dabbagh. More than happy to help you out. Remember, we're here to support you as teachers and educators in any way we can. The staff room is going to run hopefully forever and ever and ever, as long as we can keep content going up in it. So if you have any ideas that you'd like us to cover, please let us know. So until next week, take it easy from me.
And me, thank you very much.
And we'll talk to you next week. Take care.
Bye-bye.